You're watching At Issue with Tom Hauser.
And welcome back. Essentially, since about 1990, the 3rd District congressional race has been pretty much of a no-brainer. Jim Ramstad has won by huge margins every year since then, but he is retiring this year, so that race is wide open. And one of the candidates for the 3rd District congressional seat joins me now, David Dillon from the Independence Party. Thanks for being here today.
Good morning. Thank you.
This is your first time running for public office. People are probably not real familiar with you, but you come from a business background. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with your life and why you want to devote a great deal of it to serving in Congress in Washington.
Well, my family and I live in Excelsior. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. Our businesses, a pair of them, are in Brooklyn Park. And essentially, it has to do with being compelled to run about the economy and about what Congress hasn't been doing for the last years to help. I think they're making it worse instead of better. And
you probably see that firsthand running a business, that the climate maybe now isn't so great for job creation and that type of thing.
Absolutely.
And as an Independence Party member, I imagine you see a little bit of blame among the Republicans and the Democrats.
I see a lot of blame about the food fight that continues between the Republicans and Democrats every day. It's at the end of this election cycle, whoever wins, the Republicans are going to go right back to fighting with the Democrats and vice versa, preventing progress.
Now, you have made a couple of unusual pledges in your campaign. You say that if elected to Congress, you will never vote for a bill, I imagine, a budget bill that would be unbalanced. And if you did that, you would resign. And the same thing comes to earmarking for specific projects, something that John McCain, of course, has talked a lot about, that you would also resign rather than vote for earmarks. Why did you decide those two things were so important?
Both of those things tie back to the greater issue of this campaign, the economy. The fact of the matter is that Congress has been corrupted by that earmark spending. They're supposed to be in charge of the purse and what money should get spent on, and hold people who spend it accountable. If they just hand out the money, the pork, the candy themselves on their favorite little projects, you end up with bridges to nowhere, and it doesn't help the economy. It makes things worse instead of better. It's a corrupting process.
Now, in Minnesota, you have John Klein, who's taken pretty much the same position in his district, but then you've got someone like Jim Oberstar in the northern part of the state who is known for getting a lot of earmarks, especially for transportation projects for Minnesota.
Brings home the pork.
Yeah, well, and some people would say it's pork, and some people would say it's making sure Minnesota gets its fair share of the federal dollars that we send to Washington. So how do you balance that?
Well, you don't. The net effect is that it makes our economy, and we have to compete now in a global economy, it makes things worse. Jim may very well bring home stuff for his people and get them something, but it's to the detriment of someone else. And the fact of the matter is these projects aren't vetted. These projects aren't decided that they're worthwhile. Nobody comes back to look and say, okay, was it a good idea to build a Woodstock museum? You know, these things just happen. The money goes away, and we're all the worse off for it. So, you know, it's a practice that ought to end. And I'm asking both my opponents to take the same pledge.
Now, another issue, of course, that's very important to you and really to all Americans and Minnesotans, energy policy. People every day when they go to the gas pump, they feel the pain, and prices have come down a few cents here in recent days, but it's a sad thing when you're looking at $3.85 gas and thinking that's a relief. Let's talk first about the gas price policy, what you might do to try to bring those prices down.
Essentially, what we have to do is both. In other words, we both have to make a commitment to conservation and renewable energy, and we have to make a commitment to production. And there's a compromise to be had in there. But if you look at what happened in Congress last year, a Democratic Congress let the tax breaks and subsidies for wind and solar expire. It's unbelievable. A Democratic Congress, why would they do that? Well, because the Republicans wouldn't let go of the tax breaks for oil and gas. So they decided they'd rather have an issue to carry into the campaign than progress.
This is back to the political food fight you're talking about.
That's exactly right. And earlier in this show, there was a discussion about how Jesse can make the media sort of run in circles. Well, the truth of the matter is, it's because the public understands that there's an essential message there that they've been had by the blue guys and the red guys.
So what you're saying then is that the Democrats, of course, are calling for more energy conservation.
Very good thing.
And regulations for cars that get better gas mileage.
Very good thing.
Republicans want more drilling, more domestic oil production. you think all of these things are good. We need to have a balanced policy of both, not just one or the other.
Not just balanced, large. The worldwide energy cost is $6 trillion annual. It's an enormous part of the world's economy. It's an enormous part of how we have a good life. Before we went on air, you said it's going to be a hot one today, 100-degree heat index. People will be using their air conditioning.
Yeah, and obviously energy policy is something that impacts everybody, and you're also concerned, obviously, about the impact it has on the environment. So if you tackle all these things in a responsible way, you think it could maybe lower energy costs and help the environment.
Exactly. You can't really have a sensible conversation about energy policy unless you go through the gate marked the environment. I mean, there are people who believe global warming isn't happening, can't happen, there's no global climate risk. So for them, energy policy is easy. They just dig up all the coal and burn it.
Final thing, difficult race ahead. You've got well-funded candidates for Republicans and Democrats, Eric Paulson, Ashwin Madhya. Is this something, are you going to have the funds to be able to be competitive in this wide-open district?
I really think so. We've not raised as much. There will be millions of dollars that will come in from outside of the country and professional campaign folks. But the question is, will we be able to get our message out? And I think so. I'm being covered by the media. Certainly our first ad will be coming out on TV in the next couple of weeks. We'll get our message out. It's also going to be a web-based campaign.
All right. Well, David Dillon is a candidate, Independence Party, 3rd Congressional District. Best of luck to you. I'm sure we'll see you on the campaign trail.
Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks for being here.